In this video I'm going to start modeling this revolver. This is the Samaritan pistol from Hellboy, and basically I'm going to do a series of videos that cover different modeling tools and techniques to create this thing. This video I'm just going to concentrate on this one metal piece right here, this one sort of contiguous piece. Not going to do the latch or the trigger or anything like that, just this one piece right here for this video, just to demonstrate some different techniques. In the scene what I have is a side view and a front view. I put the side view in, I added a cube here, and I sized that down to one of the facets of the barrel, and then I sized the front image down to match that facet. That way I know I have match size across here. So let's just get into it. I'm going to go to Mesh, Create Poly Tool. Basically you're just going to click every place you need to create the outline. And don't worry, you can go back and fix this stuff up. You can also press backspace if you add one in a place that doesn't end up making sense. This looks pretty good up here. And as you come along here, you just want to try to keep in mind the resolution you're aiming at. So I'm going to go for some sort of medium high res. And as this radius starts tightening up down here, I want to add more verts through here so that I can have that be a smoother form. So something like that. And then I want to go down and into the handle like that. Whoops. And then down here it looks like the metal continues to about here. So I'll just do that. Again, tight radius means more polys, something like this. And then when I start getting out here, it starts loosening up in terms of radius, so that means I just put fewer verts through here. Maybe something like that. And then one more here. And I could continue and draw this out here, but since this is a perfect circle, it's just going to be easier to do that with a primitive. So I'm going to come back and add a primitive into that to fix it up. But for now I'm going to go ahead and clean up what I just did. And basically what I want to do is just snap. So I'm going to use V and just click on the Y on that case and just snap that into a straight line. And then this is straight down, so I'll just snap that on Z there. So I'll snap this one up. And you can see there's a little bit of a discrepancy. I might just have the angle of this image maybe slightly off, but that is probably fine for setting this thing up. This guy's probably supposed to be straight back, so I'm just going to snap that, double check. The angle is looking pretty good here, and this one probably needs to snap back into a straight line with that one. So let's see what that did to the angle. Looks like that needs to move up to something like that. Okay, this one should probably be pretty close to inline, maybe not perfect, but something like that. That's looking pretty good. These guys look like they could just be evened out a tad. Like if I move that one back, it's going to make that feel like a little bit better. Flow, so that's looking good. And what I'm trying to do here is just even these things out just a little bit. Looks like this guy could maybe come up just a hair. Okay, so that's looking pretty good as a basic outline. Now I need to go ahead and add this part in. And again, I'll just do that with a primitive here. So just go to cylinder. And in this case, I'm working on X. So I'll make sure I have X. Axis division 12, that's fine for starting. Move that into place. And actually that is the right size, right out of the can. Didn't have to do a thing. That is fantastic. So I see that I have a point here, that's where I want one, and a point around here. It's pretty close to where I want that one as well. So I'm in pretty good shape. Now in terms of establishing the resolution, what you probably want to do is look at this thing from the distance that you're going to be seeing the pistol. So this pistol would take up most of the screen here. And as you can see, this looks like a pretty round form. So this is probably the right resolution for that. I don't need to go any higher than that to make this work. So what I want to do then is just select that face and make sure I only have that one face. So I just inverted the selection, and I'm going to hold V and snap that to these verts. So now those are perfectly aligned together. Back to the side view, I'm going to select both of these objects and then just do Mesh, Combine. And you do have to do a combine operation in order to do a bridge or append or something like that to make these one contiguous piece. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these verts, and again I'm just going to hold V and I'm going to snap it out to the edge like that. The other option would be just snap those down. That would work just as well in this case. Actually, I won't even have to do an append or anything. So I'll just go ahead and snap those into place, and as you can see, that has got us nice and seamed up. That is not quite finished. It does look like one contiguous piece, but it's not really. So basically what we have is anytime you see this bold line here, this is the border edge, and that indicates that you don't have a contiguous piece. You can also test that by double clicking on a face, and if it doesn't select everything, that means it's not contiguous. So what I want to do here is just do a big selection of verts and then choose merge and make sure it's something really low, like 1,000th or something. And then do merge. See, I have 15 verts selected, and now I have 13. And notice now I have this regular line instead of being that bold line. And that means I have a contiguous mesh. Again, you can test that, double click, and it clicks through the whole thing. So now I have a nice clean sheet that basically is the form that I want it to be. I need to do a little bit of a tweak back here, and let's just take a look at some of the reference images so you can see what's happening there. So this one's perfect for that. You see that this whole thing is really flat. This is easy pistol to model because it's so flat through here, but then it rounds out at the back here. So what I want to do is add that rounding, and it's going to be just easier to do that by adding a cylinder and then making that cylinder match up to this model. So let me go ahead and go back to the side view and see where we're going to make that match in. So this is the line right here. This is about right where I want it to cut through. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that part off. So just do the interactive split tool here, and I already dropped a vert here when I was laying them out. And then I'll pull down here and drop another one right there. And then I'll just drop this face out right there. So now I'm going to replace this part back here with a cylinder. So let me go ahead and add that cylinder. And in this case, we'll be working dominantly on Y. So I'll go ahead and set that up to Y. Right now we're set to 12. That might be a little bit low. We'll see in just a second. So what I want to do here is just basically get that aligned like that, and then do a rotation just so it basically matches that angle where that thing attaches, and then maybe just scale this out to get a sense of where we are. Okay, something like that's looking pretty good. And then I'll need to just come through here and just move these verts down so they all line up the way they're supposed to. I think this might end up being just a little bit on the low end resolution wise. We're going to be looking at this side of the gun here, so probably want to push that up a little bit. So I'll go under poly cylinder, and maybe I'll just make that, instead of 12, maybe it's more like 16, something like that. Let me take a look again from the side. That looks like it's going to work out pretty well. So at this point, what I want to do is drop out everything except for these. So I just do a marquee like that, press delete. So now what I should have is, whoops, got into the wrong view there. Back to the side, this guy. So now what I have is this piece that's going to form up. So I'm going to go ahead and do my extrusion on this so I can start figuring out exactly how to put these things together. So from the front view, I'm going to move this over to the edge like that. Again, I'll just do this in wireframe so nothing gets in the way. Looks like it's supposed to be about that wide. And then just do an extrusion on this whole piece. Just pull that back to around there. Okay. And take a look at it. And you may have the problem where once you do extrusion, sometimes you might find that you're actually inside out. So you'll see black instead of gray here. If you have two-sided lighting turned off, in my case, it was on. If you have that off, you'll see if your faces are actually inverted. In this case, the normals are all facing in. I'll just show you that really quickly, like this. So now you can see all the green lines point in, meaning the faces are actually pointed in. This is something you really need to be concerned with when you're doing real-time models. Basically, you want only one side of the face to have to render. So in Maya, it shows up as black if your two-sided lighting is not turned on. So let me go ahead and reverse these. Okay. And so that gives me basically the correct width, which means I need to scale this down a bit. Let me go ahead and just pull that in. That might be pretty close. Let's take a look here. This might be easiest to do again from the front view. That's that's pretty close right there. And probably all I'll do to finish that off is just to make sure that I'm exactly matching the width is just grab the faces or grab an edge of this guy here and just make sure I just have this guy. Grab this one and just snap that out to that vert right there. And that way I just make sure there's no discrepancy at all. Okay, so that should be exactly lined up now. Basically what I need to do is drop out the extra faces I don't need, because basically I want this to be a hole, so I'll just drop that out, and then down here I want that to be a hole as well. So that looks about right. I'll go into my side view, and then I'll just sort of move these verts around. So I'll just grab these guys, and I'm just going to move them to where they look like they are continuing this curve. Okay. And it looks like this actually may be a little on the large side. I didn't pay enough attention to that. I think what I need to be doing here, instead of, before I even move those guys, is just scale that in a little bit. It looks like my X is correct right now, and I don't really care about Y, but my Z right there, now that's a lot closer to where it needs to be. I just didn't pay enough attention when I first was laying that out. Go ahead and move these down now. Okay, and I am using the object mode for the move tool just so I make sure that I'm not accidentally adding another curve in a different direction here. So it looks like that's probably going to work out. It's about where they are now. So now I'm just going to go ahead and do a little bit of snapping. Let me go ahead and grab this guy, snap him out to that one, this one to this one, this one to this one, this one to that one. Okay, so that should be looking pretty good. Okay, so now I need to combine those two objects, same as I did before, mesh combine. And then really all I need to do now is just merge those. Again, I just want to make sure I have a nice low tolerance. So now you can see that's no longer a border edge, looking good. So now I'll just go soft, hard, and I'll just double check my options. 45 should be about right. Double check that. Okay, looking good. So now I have a nice smooth end of this thing. And now I just need to seam this thing up. So I'll just do that with the append to poly tool. And again, you can press Y to repeat that last tool, so instead of going back and forth to the menus. Like that, and then one more time to soften harden, just to see what I got there. We end up with a little bit of a problem in terms of the softening and hardening. This angle through here just isn't quite strong enough, so I'm just going to go ahead and harden that manually. There we go. Okay, so that's actually looking pretty good. That's basically the piece at this point. We'll need to come back and add a little bit more detail in here for the hammer. Oh, and I forgot this one guy right here. We'll take a look at this from the side. And on this, probably just go ahead and do a bevel. So this is just shift right click to choose bevel. There's all sorts of different hidden menus in here, so just play around with typically shift right click, control right click, or control shift right click. Most of this stuff is just, it's in here, wherever it is, but I tend to find these to be faster to work with. So there we go, that creates my basic bevel, and now I just basically need to add a few more facets to it. That looks like that'll work pretty well. Actually, that's very close to that form. This is something that sometimes happens in Maya. I'm not exactly sure what causes it, but what you can do here is, if you ever see this where you add something through a bevel or a pen or whatever, and you can see the geometry but it's not rendering properly, just right click and choose existing material and then just reapply whatever material it was. So in this case it's Lambert. So there we go. That's that part of the gun pretty much wrapped up. So I'll pick up another video and I'll work on this area back here, the hammer, the handle, all that kind of business.